morning, and thank you all for being here today. We are gathered on the traditional territory of Treaty 6, and we'd also like to acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. My name is Rakhi Pancholi. I'm the MLA for Edmonton-Whitemud and the Deputy Leader of the Alberta NDP. I'm joined today by parents Pam Puri and Rajesh Kumar, and my colleague Marie Renaud, the Shadow Minister for Community and Social Services. Yesterday, more than 3,000 educational support staff at Edmonton Public School Board and more than 200 at Sturgeon Public School Division served notice of strike action that could begin as soon as Monday. School support workers in Fort McMurray began rotating strikes in November, and this week that strike action expanded to all support staff in Fort McMurray Public and Catholic School Divisions, who will stay off the job until a contract is settled. Many of these workers have not seen a wage increase in 10 years. The average annual salary of school support worker in Alberta is just over $34,000 per year. The UCP government's failure to properly fund our public schools has resulted in many support staff having to work 2 or even 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Danielle Smith and the UCP are choosing to fund education at the lowest level per student in the entire country, forcing school boards to rapidly drain their reserves just to keep the classroom lights on. The UCP wants Albertans to believe that this is a school board issue. But they know full well that a properly funded education system in Alberta would mean more money on the table for EAs, better supports for teachers, parents, and students, and ultimately a brighter future for our children. While failing to support these Alberta workers to ensure they have the opportunity to live a decent life with a decent wage, the UCP decided yesterday to once again put their own interests above every other Albertans by announcing they were increasing their own pay and benefits and boosting their own caucus budget. At a time when we are hearing from teachers who are overburdened with unmanageable classroom sizes, when EAs are leaving the field because they can't make a living in their chosen profession, that's when the UCP decide that they themselves deserve more. It is unconscionable for the UCP government to continue to underfund education and allow EAs to not be adequately compensated for the important and demanding work they do to ensure all of our kids have access to the education they need and deserve. We can't let the UCP get away with blaming either the shockingly underpaid workers or the most underfunded school boards in the country for this situation. This is a problem they created. They must be held accountable for their continued attacks on public education. Albertans are suffering from these actions. Teachers, education workers, parents, and most importantly, our children. That's why we're here today, to show the real-world consequences of the UCP government's negligence and what this means for Albertans. I'd like to now invite Marie to say a few words.
Thank you, Rakhi. People with disabilities are frequently a target of this government. It is a pattern. We know that adjacent supports for children with disabilities, like FSCD, which is Family Supports for Children with Disabilities, are underfunded and oversubscribed to the point that there are thousands waiting to be assessed, while thousands more have been approved and sit on wait lists. The adjacent crisis is adding to the current educational pressures, and that means school EAs are even more vital. Thousands of kids and families are negatively and dangerously impacted by this government's failure to meet their educational needs. Failure to respect and properly pay educational assistance support staff means a loss of income for families, family pressure, increased risk of abuse, and the loss of progress. When kids aren't properly supported in the classroom, the parents get called, they get taken home, they get sent home. And that's unfair. That can't be allowed to continue. Growing financial burdens coupled with unmet disability support needs is leading to families collapsing under the pressure of needs. EAs are game changers for students and teachers, and without them, equity in education is impossible. It can't even be an aspirational goal. Alberta students, staff, families, and educational staff deserve respect, our gratitude, and fair pay. So I'd like to invite Pam Puri to say a few words.
Thanks, Mary. Hi, I'm a parent of a 12-year-old daughter with special needs. Let me start by saying she absolutely loves going to school. She loves being in the classroom with her peers, who she learns so much from on a daily basis. Her classmates are kind to her, and both sides benefit a great deal from being around each other. My daughter could not attend school if she wasn't with her educational assistant for support. Unfortunately, there have been a few instances where this has happened in the past couple years, and she has had to stay home. This makes her extremely sad. She's watched her older sibling walk out the door to go to school, but she was not able to. As a mother, this is just gut-wrenching. The work the EAs do is vital in supporting children like mine to have the opportunity to succeed in an inclusive setting, which is a win-win for society as a whole. It can be challenging work, but so essential for children like mine and really for all students in our overcrowded classrooms that demand so much of our teachers' time. Should EAs have to go on strike on Monday, this disruption will be very upsetting for my daughter and really for our entire family. And of course, our family will have to deal with the repercussions and strain caused by the impact of the strike. I know different schools are trying to work out different plans, but whether she can be accommodated at school under a very different situation, like being isolated from her classmates and only go in for 2 to 3 hours a day without recess, etc., or forced to stay home altogether, this is absolutely not fair for children caught in the middle. The government should do the right thing, and ensure all Alberta support staff are earning a fair wage. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. So I'm a parent of an 11-year child with disabilities. If educational support staff are forced to go on strike on Monday, it will not only severely impact my daughter, but every parent like us who has worked so hard to make sure that our children have the best opportunity to participate in the society. I have chosen to work from home so that if emergencies come up, I am available to handle them. What about other parents or the single parents who don't have that option? They may be forced to take off from work, and who knows for how long. Even if my daughter is still able to go to the school during the strike, it's pretty clear that she will not be able to get the level of support necessary for her to be engaged in the program and be successful. And that could be very frustrating for her. My daughter have learned a lot and progressed very well is progressing very well right now. This disruption will be emotionally distressing for her, but as parents, it's not only logistically extremely challenging, but also emotionally distressful for us as well. Because we feel our child is less valued compared to the rest of the kids that don't have the disability. Teachers alone cannot provide the level of support that she needs. Educational assistants have made such a positive impact in my daughter's life and others like her. Every child deserves to have the opportunity to learn and be valued member of our society. We have faced many roadblocks, systemic barriers to getting our daughter included into the mainstream programs from the beginning. But it has been worth the battle to see her getting the support from the system and being successful. This is another barrier that we and the families like ours should not be facing. With no disrespect to anyone, as an Albertan and a parent, I believe it's a shame that Alberta government has let the situation escalate to this point and allow the children to be caught in the middle of this. They must immediately step up and fund public education properly so that those doing the amazing work to help our kids be successful can do that work with the support and respect they deserve. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rajesh and Pam, for being here today and telling the stories of the impacts of this strike, but also the benefits of having EAs in classrooms that are well supported and well compensated to support their kids. Thank you for advocating for children and for educational support staff. The UCP must get their thumb off the scale of negotiations and fund education properly. So education staff earn the wages that they deserve for the important work that they do, and that every child gets the education that they deserve. Thank you, and we'll now take your questions.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if you're on Zoom, it's the raise hand function, and if you're on the phone, it's *9 to get into the question queue. Please state your name and outlet and who you'd like to direct your question to.
Shailan Skoski with CTV News. Actually, this one could be for any of you up there. I'm just hoping to get a reaction to what we heard from the finance minister yesterday. He essentially said that workers are misleading the public, saying that for 10 months work and part-time, the wages essentially aren't as low as what they're suggesting. I'm hoping to get a response to that, and also what you would like to see in terms of adequate funding from the province.
Frankly, I'll say that I think it's an insult to these education workers and for the important work that they do for the Minister of Finance to degrade their work and to suggest that those education workers are misleading Albertans. We just heard from parents talk about the importance that EAs have in their classroom. And let's be clear, it's not when an EA, a properly supported EA is in a classroom, it doesn't just help the designated students that they may be supporting, it helps all the children in that classroom, and it helps the teacher as well. So it is an insult, actually a complete insult to those education workers to suggest that they are misleading Albertans. Who is misleading Albertans right now is the provincial government, is the Minister of Finance, is the Premier and the Education Minister, who continue to point their fingers at these undervalued education workers who are vital to our kids, and by pointing the finger at school boards who have been vastly underfunded for the last almost 6 years now. It is about distracting and deflecting responsibility, and that responsibility falls solely on the provincial government.
And just as a follow-up, what number would you like to see? I know you mentioned the MLAs voting to give themselves a pay raise yesterday. That was about 2.2% that we're looking at for this year, but adjusted annually. What do you think that the number should look like that the province is offering?
The province is offering for the education workers?
For education workers, yeah.
Look, that's a matter of bargaining for sure, that I think that CUPE and their representatives are working out with the school boards. But what we know is that the provincial government has been putting their fingers on the scale of negotiations by delivering secret mandates to the public sector employers, to the school boards, and they are setting the terms of negotiation. It is not a fair and transparent process right now. As well, we know that the school boards can only offer what they have, and what they don't have is funding for every single student that walks through the door of their schools. Edmonton Public Schools currently is not being funded for over 4,000 of the students that they are providing and delivering education to. Why? Because the provincial government has chosen a funding model that chooses to underfund all those students. So the school boards can only do what they can with what they have. The point is that these education workers have not had a raise in almost 10 years. They do critically important work, and they deserve a fair wage. And I know that their representatives, the CUPE is representing them well, but really this is about making sure that they're compensated fairly for the important work they do.
Jasmine King with Global Edmonton. Last time when this happened in October, the province stepped in. There's obviously a chance that they may be able to do that again with Sturgeon Public. I mean, what kind of message do you think it sends to these workers when the government steps in and kind of leaves them in this holding pattern?
Well, it's a continued insult to these workers, right? Again, they are undermining the bargaining process. They're stepping in when they shouldn't be. When it suits the government, they weigh in and they do things like defer the negotiations to the Disputes Inquiry Board. And then when it doesn't suit them, they say, oh, it's the school board's responsibility. I think Albertans, parents, education workers deserve to know deserve to know that the provincial government is the one who is holding all the power right now. Right, and so they are disrespecting the negotiation process that those unions and those workers are rightfully engaged in by putting their finger on the scale.
Okay, we'll do one more quick pass for questions. Just a reminder, if you're on Zoom, it's the raise hand function. If you're on the phone, it's *9. Seeing none, that ends the press conference for today. Thank you.
Thank you.